Hi guys and welcome back, and if you're new here, thanks for joining us. Today we're going to be servicing my Hyundai i30N. It's getting to that point now with these cars where they're starting to run out of their warranties and their services included in the sales and stuff like that. So there's going to be more and more people wanting to service their i30N at home. So this will give you a little bit of a helping hand while you're trying to do it yourself if you haven't serviced a car before. I have been servicing all of our cars at home for the last several years now because it's just a lot easier, it's a lot cheaper, it's not overly difficult to do. So hopefully you'll find this video helpful. We're not going to be doing the full service. We're going to be changing the oil filter and the spark plugs. I won't be actually changing my spark plugs, but you'll see how you can change yours. I've got the uprated HKS spark plugs. So we're just going to take them out, give them a little clean up with a wire brush, a little bit of carb cleaner, just give them a little spruce up and they can go back in. So if you want to see how easy it is to service your Hyundai i30N at home, stay tuned and I'll see you very shortly. So the first thing we're going to do is jack the car up. So on the driver's side is where the oil filter is, and that's where the sump plug is as well. So we've got the jack underneath the car, and I don't know if the camera's going to focus. Yeah, so you can see the little seal just under there. It's got two little notches in it. Right in the middle of the two notches is where the jacking point is, so you want to get the jack pad underneath there and then just make sure it's in position and you can start jacking the car up. So the car is jacked up now and we've just put an axle stand onto the subframe of the car. You shouldn't really rely on jacks on their own just in case they fail for some reason. So that's on where the wishbone goes, and then that's on the subframe, so that's on the structural part of the car. You don't want to put it on something that's going to end up crumpling and the car will fall on you. So this little circle here, that's the oil filter, and then that is the sump plug. You can't really, it's not very good light. You can kind of make it out on the camera, so you don't actually have to take off the under tray. So we're going to take off the sump plug first, let all the oil drain out, and then put the sump plug back in. Normally the oil filters come with a new washer, which the one that I have does. The washers are only like one use really because they're crush washers, and then got the new oil filter, so we can do the sump plug, drop the oil, sump plug back in, oil filter out, drain a little bit of oil that will come out of there, and then we can top the oil back up. We're going to undo the filler cap with the oil as well. That just lets the oxygen get in through the top, and it will just create more of a vacuum for the oil to drain out fully rather than leaving some oil in there. It will drain if you don't take the filler cap off, but it's just easier to do it like that. And then after that we can do the spark plugs. So we're just taking the engine cover off. You can get to the filler cap there for the oil, but it's just going to be easier because we're doing the spark plugs anyway. So just grab a corner and just very gently pull it off the little clips. So you've got a couple of rubber bungs there that are in the engine covers, and they just sit on these little balls here. So when we put this back on, we're going to put a little bit of grease just on here, so when we take it off the next time it won't have seized on, because these can snap quite easily. So that's the engine cover off, and then we're just going to undo the oil filler cap. And that'll just let the air go into the top while we're draining it from the bottom, and it'll just get more oil out than just leaving it on. So the sump plug is a 17mm, and we're going to use a drip tray to drain the oil into. You can use like a cat litter tray, is quite popular. So we've just cracked it off with a ratchet. So then we get our drip tray into position. And then just be careful if you're doing it into a normal tray that you don't drop the sump plug into it. you're going to be reusing the sump plug. So we can just undo the plug with our hand. So that's the sump plug there. So I'm just going to leave mine just in the tray because it's only got a little hole to go through. But you may want to put it on a little bit of a kitchen roll or something like that. A bit of cardboard maybe. So we're just going to leave this to drain, and obviously the filler cap is out now. So what I like to do is while this is draining, I change the spark plugs over, and then by the time I've done that, that should be all the old oil out and we can put the new stuff in. Well, do the oil filter first, put the sump plug in, and then do the new oil. So to do the spark plugs, we've got the 4 coil packs here, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's under where the spark plugs are. So we've got a 10mm bolt that holds in each coil pack. So we're just going to be undoing those, and then these are basically like a suction cup. So you just pull them and it will pop, and then you can pull the suction cup out, and then that's the coil packs out, and then after that you will see the spark plugs down the spark plug tubes. So now we can just pull the coil packs out. Don't get confused with which one is which. Make sure you remember, do it in a way that you're going to remember which one is which. That is the spark plug down there. So we're using a 10mm spark plug tool, and I'm just going to get it on the long extension. And it will just click over like that. As you're undoing it, it will make an awful sound, but it is just the noise that these spark plugs make in this engine. Just take your time and just do it slowly and carefully. And they do have a very long thread, so it will take quite a while to get them out. So these are the HKS M45XL. They're the high spark plugs. They're better for performance. So these ones you can reuse. So we're just going to get a wire brush and just go over the thread just to clean it up a little bit. You don't want to go too aggressive. You'll probably get 2 services out of these plugs, clean them 1 service and then replace them the second. And then on the pickup there, just ever so gently, just get a little wire brush down on the pickup. You don't need to go mad. So if you were doing new spark plugs, obviously you'd be doing this without cleaning the ones you have. You would just be doing exactly the same, taking the old ones out and putting the new ones in. So I'm just going to whack these spark plugs back in quickly, and then we can do the oil filter. So the spark plug tool, you can see it's got like a little rubber bung in there, which just clips onto the end like that, and then you can just gently slide it down. And again, you just want to make sure it's biting, you don't want to cross thread it, so just take your time and just gently wind it in. Just do it by hand with the extension like this, and then when you feel it get tight, then you can put the ratchet on the end and then you can tighten it up properly. So we're just going to be tightening it up with a ratchet now that we've got it hand tight, and that's got to the point now of being tight. So we're just going to pull it to 6 o'clock and just nip it up. You don't need to put too much pressure on it, it's literally just to nip it up. So we can now put the coil packs back in. Just try not to bend the tube too much, and just give it a little push of your thumb and you'll hear it or feel it click. Just make sure they're all pressed in, and then the 10mm bolts can go back in. I might need to just give the coil pack a little jiggle just to make sure the bolt is going in. So then as you're tightening up the bolt, just put pressure on with your fingers onto the coil pack to make sure that the coil pack is seated into the tube onto the spark plug. So just nip it up with a socket. And again, you're hardly putting any pressure on when you're tightening it up with a ratchet, you're just nipping it up. So we've got the sump plug, so that's the old washer. Just going to get rid of that one. When I had my MOT a few weeks ago, they actually said that the sump plug was leaking ever so slightly, so it is good. Normally if you get the sump plug washer, just to put a new washer on, just give it a little clean up. So that's the oil filter in that box, and that's the new washer. So nice new washer on the sump plug. So we're going to put this back in, and then we're going to do the oil filter. So we're just going to put the sump plug back in, and then we're just going to tighten that up. Remember, it's a 17mm. So that's the oil filter housing there, and that little slot there, you can get the oil filter tool, which is basically just like a big pair of pliers. So you can slide the tool up into that slot round the back and then hook onto there. You probably need to do a few turns just to loosen it off, and then you should be able to just undo it with your hand. So now we can just get the drip tray underneath ready to go. And we'll just take the oil filter out, let the oil drain, and then we can put the new oil in. So while the oil filter is draining, the new one should come with a little plastic coating just to protect it. And we're going to get some of the new oil and just pour a little bit into the cap. Doesn't need to be a lot, just like a teaspoon. And we're just going to get some of it on the glove. And just pull that centre bit, the thread, and just that O-ring around the outside. Just so it makes a nice seal when you put the new one in. It depends how you want to do it. Some people would fill that and then put it up, but if you let the oil sit in the engine for a little bit, it will fill up anyway, and just turn the engine over a couple of times. So now that's ready to go in. So we're just putting the new oil filter in. Can be a bit fiddly. So just do it up as tight as you can with your hand, and then just get a cloth and then just keep constantly slowly turning it until you can't turn it anymore. You don't need to do it up with the oil filter tool because it will be too tight. Just hand tight is fine. So we've got the Castrol Edge 5W30M. You can use a 0W30 as well. And with this, the manual says 4.8 litres for the capacity, but I always find that's a little bit overfilled. So start with like 4.2, and then just keep adjusting it with the dipstick until you get the right amount. And I've got the AirTech oil cooler in it, so that's going to take more capacity. So I'm going to start with 5 litres myself and then adjust from there. So we're just going to take it out and wipe it so it's clean. All the way back in. Out again. So it's saying it's past full, but once we've turned the engine over a couple of times, it will fill the oil filter, and for me, the oil filler, the oil cooler. Oil filter and oil cooler, and then we can read it again. But just make sure each time you check it, you just let the engine settle for about 10-15 minutes so that oil has time to get to the bottom of the engine again. If you did find the video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Please like and subscribe if you are enjoying our videos. If you have any questions, if it's the first time that you're servicing your car, please just give us write a comment on the video or whatever, and I'll do my best to reply. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.